What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Die Hart 2. This is apparently a sequel to something that I thought was a TV show, and now it's a movie, but they're calling it a sequel. I'm very confused. I refused to look it up because I didn't like this enough to watch the original, so I'm just going to review this. We're just going to talk about this, and I'm going to move on with my life. I did the same thing with a Hulu movie, which apparently was like a Purge knockoff, and they made a Christmas version of it, and I guess there was a previous version of it that was a non-Christmas version of it, but I didn't like the Christmas version enough to go back and watch the other one. So, yeah. Kevin Hart's in this. That's why it's Die Hart 2. Hart, because it's like his last name. It's clever. This movie's not, but the title is. I don't know, I guess this was popular? Was this thing... See, what I remember was Die Hard was one of the things that Quibi had to send off into the ether because, well, it no longer existed. And since it was one of the things that had filmed, unlike some of their adaptations, they actually had a planned Varsity Blues show, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days show, stuff like that that hadn't actually made it to production. Those things just died. But something like this, which had filmed, got shipped. And I thought Roku had bought them all up. To be honest, I thought Roku bought all of Quibi's originals. So I don't know why this is on Amazon. I'm very confused about that specifically. Maybe Amazon just wanted this one thing, so they bought one title. Or maybe they made the sequel and the other thing is on Roku. I don't care. This is terrible. It feels like... it feels like some sort of incomplete, weird, sort of indulgent, straight-to-video sequel. It's kind of like what Anchorman 2 could have been. It's like when there's something and people are like, oh, well, that was really popular, it was really funny, and people really like that. We want to make a sequel to it, but we don't know how. And the Farrelly brothers, they fell into this with Dumb and Dumber 2, which originally they made the right call by not making a sequel to it back in the 90s. But after years of pressure, and then also their careers just kind of started floundering, they caved to pressure. But they caved to pressure in a year where comedy was completely different, and the humor just wasn't the same. And they had kind of grown out of that sort of immature style humor, so they didn't really even understand what made the first movie funny in order to recreate it for the second movie. Plus, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels were considerably older. So, this feels like that. This feels like somebody was like, well, Die Hard was so let's do a sequel. What are we going to do a sequel about? I don't know. He got popular after the first movie, and now he has to try to figure out who this guy is that's like threatening to come after him by going through this like laundry list of people he's been a dick to. That's what the movie is. It's not remotely close to Die Hard. So it's not even clever like that, where he finds himself in situations comedically. That would be funny. This is nothing like that. This has no parallel to Die Hard 2 at all. Not in the least. Not even like a 1% overlap. He's playing himself. He's playing in obviously like a version of himself that's a dick. And he's been an asshole to enough people that he has to like go around and figure out, who was I an asshole to the most? So he goes on an apology tour to try to figure that out so that he doesn't get like hunted down or whatever. I don't know. It's not worth watching. It's not even worth reviewing. I like a couple things were clever, but most of it was cringy. And there were people involved in this, like Paul Appel, and I was just like, why are you in this? Please, please renew Girls Five Eva and give her like the kind of help promote her status so that she doesn't have to take on shitty roles like this. You know, I hated this a lot. Um, it, it I it never felt like a coherent movie, you know, which I can get from the Quibi stuff because I think they were all supposed to be like an 8-minute bite, so it would feel very disjointed if you tried to like throw it together. But this has no excuse because there's no way that Quibi shot a sequel to their own thing. They were only around for a few months. So there's no reason for this to feel so, I don't know, uncinematic. I don't know what word to use to describe this. It's, yeah, it's just a waste of time. So I would not recommend this to people I don't like. It might be the worst film of the year. I don't know. The thing is that Kevin already had Lift this year, and I actually enjoyed Lift. So if you think I'm just coming in here and being mean to Kevin, I'm one of the few people who actually gave Lift a positive review. I enjoyed Lift. That was directed by F. Gary Gray. It's something that a lot of the critics who bashed it refused to point out, that it actually had a solid director behind it. So this, I don't know. This is just, it feels like something that we just kind of, like they make those South Park quote movies. They call them movies, but they're just like double episodes. Not really movies, you know. They don't break an hour. But we know they're TV episodes. This feels like that. This feels like it's an hour-long episode of something. But what? Like, it's one of the worst things I've seen this year, easily, hands down, for sure. Like, I'd rather watch Rebel Moon again. So this is, I was baffled. I thought there would be like a coherent film here, and there's not. So it's got audio description though, which is the main reason why I decided to dive down this rabbit hole. And I actually do like Kevin Hart. Like 9 times out of 10, I actually enjoy him. So I enjoyed him in his film with Bryan Cranston that most people didn't seem to enjoy, or at least critics anyway. So yeah, I tend to lean in his direction. This is just a totally misguided, just ego trip, you know. Play yourself in a movie. Okay. The audio description is not credited, which is really a shame, because this is what's so weird about this is I'm in a situation where, because of my like autoplay settings, I don't know actually who's doing the narration to Hacks. It's the guy who does Hacks, which is now the second time that I've said that, because he can't seem to get credited on anything. Because he also did Immaculate, and Immaculate didn't credit him at the end either. He's also not credited at the end of the Immaculate credits. So this is the second thing he's narrated that has no recognition of his work at the end of the credits. And I'm just baffled by it. I'm like, what is up with this dude, and why does nobody want to say what his name is? So, it's the guy who's doing Hacks, and he also did Immaculate. So, yeah. Now, just please credit him. I hope when I get to the season finale of Hacks and I actually am able to watch the credits, because it has nothing to push me into, that I actually hear what his name is, because I'm so interested right now in who this narrator is. But I've got that point of reference like constantly in my mind, because of a TV show. So it's interesting. Anyway, the narration here is not bad. It's just there's I don't know. It's like narrating a home video. I don't know. The movie's fucking terrible. I don't know what to say. This movie is so bad that even if the narration was great, I wouldn't want it to win like the audio description of the year award, because there's nothing to it. It's just like following Kevin Hart around. There's nothing exciting about this film. I think he has maybe like the one thing that, if I could come up with like a note for this, would be, I think he plays himself like in a dual role. Like he plays a version of his stunt double, and they give him these weird teeth so that he doesn't quite sound like himself. And then later on, it does sound like himself, so he sounds like he's talking to himself. Anyway, just I don't know, say it's him. Just be like, and you know, hint at that's what's happening, because at first I was like, what is up with this dude? It's like, is that Walton Goggins? Like, who's this guy? That's Kevin Hart's, because he had such a weird, like, they were going for such a weird accent, but then later on when you hear his voice, you're like, Kevin Hart sounds like he's talking to himself. Was Kevin Hart playing his own stunt double? Like, so I, again, not that I really care, because this is a dumpster fire, but I don't really have much else to say about this. I'm sure some people like it. It's like #1 on Amazon right now, and I refuse. I refuse to just be like, wow, people like shiny things. I like Kevin Hart. I like a bunch of things that he does. This is not one of them. I don't know what Die Hart was, but I do know that Die Hart 2 is awful, even if Die Hart 1 is good. Even if I watched it, like, and got it, it was like, oh, so that's what Die Hard 1 was. There's no way Die Hard 2 is ever going to be redeemed. There's no way that you're going to be like, wow, I get it now. Thank you. It just wasn't funny. So I'm going to give Die Hard 2, I think it's called Die Harder. I don't know. If you're going to rip off the Die Hard franchise, you have to actually kind of nod to it. You can't just like, you can't just go around. Anyway, fuck this movie. I'm giving it a D-. Yeah, it's one of my lowest grades of the year, so easily. I hate this film. I do. The only reason I'm not giving it an F is it has marginally talented people in it. I don't like to give films an F, because an F means that there's absolutely nothing in the film worth watching, that I can't think of one good reason to watch the film. And if I had to come up with one reason, Paula Pell just trying really hard at a really shitty role, I guess. Maybe. I'm stretching here, but yeah. There were maybe like 2 jokes that I laughed at, chuckled at, smirked at. I'm trying to be nice. Please don't watch this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.